I'd like to take this opportunity to thank a few people straight away, and that is K-Train for the monetary support via PayPal. Thank you very much. Also like to thank my nephew Chris for this amazing t-shirt. He took my logo and vinyl printed it onto a shirt and told me that I needed to wear it while I worked. Unfortunately, I think it's too nice of a shirt to destroy. If you've seen my pants in the previous videos, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm probably gonna keep this for a little while as a nice shirt, and once it starts getting to a point where, you know, white shows everything kind of thing, I'll bring it into the build, I guess. But for right now, thank you very much for that shirt. I also want to thank Chris for the use of his shop yesterday. Man, we spent 9 hours in his workshop, mostly on the table saw. There was quite a few things that I had worked on that I needed to cut on a table saw would really be beneficial. So he offered his workshop, so I packed up the van and went down there, and we spent the whole day cutting a whole bunch of stuff and installing a few things as well. But mostly it was just such a great, outstanding thing to have available to me was a table saw. It was the one thing I don't have here in my, you know, humble shop of sorts. I've got all the hand tools. The table saw really made a huge difference in what we're going to be working on in this week's video. And I would also like to thank Chris's girlfriend Lori for making a fabulous lunch for us. That was I wasn't expecting that at all, but thank you so much for doing that. That was amazing. Certainly appreciate the time you took, and it was a delicious, the tacos were amazing, so thanks. So I didn't actually do any filming when I was at Chris's workshop. The issue was I just had way too much to do to try to get done in a single day, and as it was, it did take us nine hours to get through everything. Did get a little extra things done, but overall that was my goal, was to get you know, get things cut that I wouldn't have been able to cut here at my place. So, you know, that's the reason why. But I'll walk you through everything that we accomplished, and we'll carry on from there into the installation process of everything that we got set up. So, all right. So one of the things I wanted to accomplish was I got some more shiplap, and I wanted to treat the undersides of the overhead cabinets. Now, I wanted to do this more so on this side simply because of the under cabinet lights I'm going to have over the galley. So I couldn't finish installing the shiplap on that side because I've got to run the wiring yet for the shiplap lights, and of course drill the holes for them as well. But you can kind of see what I've got planned there, and that will finish that bottom off really nice. Now, what I ended up doing also was I picked up some of this outside corner, and what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to face the cabinets with that, trim that out, so that'll be a really nice finished look on those cabinets. One of the other things we accomplished was getting this frame around the cab over area. Now, what I did was I wrapped it around the plywood so that it would give a nice finish edge and give me a place to mount the cabinet doors to. I glued, as you can see, I glued it in place, and we got it brad nailed all the way around, so that'll be nice and solid. Now what I'll probably do is round over the edge and get it sanded up. It's still in rough form. As you can see, we cut quite a few cabinet doors. Now we have cabinet doors for all of the overhead cabinets. We got cabinet doors for the cab over area and cabinet doors for over here. So, and also the lower cabinet. This is a cabinet door for the sink. This is a false drawer for the sink. Usually there's an area there that you can't put a drawer in. We're gonna see if I can put a drawer in or a partial drawer, but we'll see how that goes. And then we went ahead and we built 3 drawers. I got 2 small and 1 very large drawer. The bottoms, we used 1/4-inch plywood in the bottoms of the 2 smaller ones, but Chris recommended, because of the possibility of pots and pans and extra weight, that we actually used a 3/4 inch thick board at the bottom of this one. So this drawer is super heavy duty. We used a pretty basic design of drawer construction. We used glue and brad nails to fasten the sides together, and then we used a rabbet to cut out a slot for the bottoms to set in place so that they are locked in place. The drawers themselves are pretty solid. They're made out of 3/4 inch plywood, so they should hold up pretty darn good. So that pretty much sums up the day at the workshop. We got a lot accomplished, man. I couldn't believe that we got it all done. I was very, very, very pleased, very happy that I was able to get all that done. Doing these cabinet doors with a skill saw, it would have been okay. They wouldn't have turned out nearly as nice and as square, and it would have just been a big project to try to cut them all with a skill saw. So having that table saw was really that was really the way to go. So I can't thank my nephew Chris enough for the use of his shop and the help that he gave me. So that was pretty awesome, pretty amazing. One of the other things we're going to be doing here is prepping for these self-closing hinges. Now I've got a Kreg jig here that is meant for mortising out the back side of the hinge, so that sets into the wood. So we'll be doing that on all these doors too. All right, so I went ahead and puttied up all the little defective areas on these panels. Just tried to clean up a couple of the divots and whatever. So now I'll just take the sander and lightly go over them and make sure there's fairly smooth and rounded over. Backs of the doors all primed, and but while these dry, I'm going to turn my attention to the galley lights. Essentially what I'm going to have to do is create these pigtails like I did here for the main cabin lights, and do the same thing here. I'm going to have a light galley light here because I do have that flip over countertop extension. So I'm going to put a galley light above that. I'll put one above the center of this cabinet, the center of this cabinet, and the center of this cabinet. All right, so I got my light holes laid out, and now I'm gonna check to see if the layout's correct by holding the piece up there, and then I'll go ahead and drill the holes, and that'll be good. Roughly in the center. All right. You drill from both sides because it helps reduce tear out. If you plunge right straight through, it sort of breaks, and this just helps prevent the mess. So that takes care of that. Now we can just hit that with a sander, piece of sandpaper, and then that'll be good. One more to drill. So there we go. Bada bing, bada boom. Uh-oh. Miscalculated. Don't tell anybody. I don't want anybody to know that I make mistakes. Nothing a little wood putty can't fill anyways. Alright, that's that. Okay. Well, there you go. Shiplap underneath the cabinets. I got the wiring ran for the 4 galley lights. So in an attempt to get a decent finish on these doors, I got a foam sanding block here I'm going to use. And the primer is, you know, to the touch it's rough. I think it's raised grain is what they call it when you know, the paint, or even if you spray water, the grain will raise and then it'll feel rough. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to knock off the high spot and smooth this off a little bit before I put a finish coat on there. When, you know, maybe I'll get a nicer finish at the end of the day. We'll see. All right, nice coat of paint. These are the backs. That should do it. The upper cabinets are going to remain white, and then the lower cabinets I'm going to continue on with the gray theme. So that means I'm going to face paint the kitchen, the galley cabinets in the front there, and I'll dress out the drawer fronts in the gray as well. The interior of the drawer, of course, will be white, so they'll be nice and bright, be able to see what's in there. Otherwise, gonna let these dry for a few hours, and then I'll stow them indoors for overnight, and then tomorrow we'll paint the other side. All right, finished paint. Drawer fronts. And I've got the trim gluing at the moment. Got the last few connectors for the 12-volt wiring under the galley lights there, so that's complete now. I've got the screw holes sanded, trim is on. Same thing with this side. Now we just got to let that dry, and then we'll sand her up, prime it, paint it. Now these pop in pretty easy. I went ahead and drilled them out previously with the Kreg jig. So this adjustable offset, and then I just basically went 4 inches to center, and then that just drills that pocket hole pretty clean, so that they're all nice and uniform. And then this just pops down inside. Now, one thing that I want to make sure is that these hinges are square, so I'm going to use a hand square here to set the angle to make sure that these are actually fastened in, 90 degrees to the panel. Otherwise, it'll be binding when I'm opening it. It won't be very pretty. The door will open all kittywampus. So that's all I'm going to do there, is just set the square on there, make sure that those are good and set up, and go ahead and pop a couple screws in here. What I should get is a little tray to put these screws in, because I'm going to have more than I'm going to need. And there you have it. All right, now that I've got the trim painted, I can start focusing on the doors for these upper cabinets. I also went ahead and painted that post gray, kind of break up all the white a little bit, and I decided to go with a gray frame around the cab over area. There'll still be white doors, so we'll see how that's going to look. And then there's the rest of the upper cabinets. I went ahead and, like I said, painted that outside angle trim to kind of give it some character maybe. We'll see how it looks with the doors on, but that's going to be next, is the doors. And just like that, we have all of the upper cabinet doors installed, as well as the cab over doors. They look pretty clean, I do say so myself. I like the gray stripe and the trim here. Mind you, this is a mess in there, but that's I did paint that column gray just to kind of give it some more detail. I do have gas struts, but I didn't have time to really mess with those, so I'm going to wait to install those at a later time. But otherwise,
looks pretty darn good in here. Now I'm still waiting on electrical components. So next week video will probably include some of that. And also I'll be working on this lower galley cabinet, getting that all fixed up. I've got the drawers painted. I just got to go in here and tidy up all of the paint on the lower cabinet and install the cabinet door and whatnot. But otherwise, that'll be probably in next week's video too. So with that said, I thank you for tuning in and checking out this week's video. If you enjoyed what you saw, consider dropping a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you're interested in supporting my journey, please check out my Patreon below. I appreciate that as well. Thank you very much. See you guys next week.